half in the bag. Get out of my living room! Nightmarish, flesh-eating army of walking corpses rules the earth.
Oh, hey.
Oh, hey, what's up?
Oh, I just got back from seeing Sucker Punch.
Oh. Yeah, I actually saw that yesterday.
Yeah, they gave me this free promotional poster.
Oh, well, let me take a look at that.
Right here.
How's your eye? I didn't mean to punch you right in the face.
How do you accidentally punch somebody directly in the eyeball?
I think I was trying to punch the poster, and you just happened to be behind it.
It was just a compulsive thing?
Yeah, when I saw the poster, I wanted to punch it. I don't know. It was well. We're here today to talk about the recently released film called Sucker Punch. Sucker Punch tells the story of a baby doll who goes into a mental hospital after she accidentally kills her younger sister by trying to prevent her from being raped by her stepfather. But the stepfather is paying money to have her imprisoned into the hospital so that he could manipulate the will and
I need to get out. I'm gonna escape from here.
There's armed guards everywhere. And if Blue finds out, we're dead.
We're already dead.
And then after that, she imagines her psychiatric hospital setting to be a brothel where the girls are forced to dance for, they never say sex or brothel or horror.
No, not in a PG-13 movie.
And then they imagine, they plan an escape from the brothel, which is also the mental hospital.
So that's one real world, fantasy world.
And then double fantasy
And
world.
then-
Not to be confused with John Lennon and Yoko Ono.
Basically, every time it goes into the fantasy within a fantasy is when Baby Doll starts to dance. Supposedly, she has this dance that is so seductive that men are just hypnotized.
Right.
You never see the dance in the movie.
No.
Every time she starts to do it, it goes into her brain and you enter her fantasy world.
Yes.
To reach your own paradise. Just let go. You control this world. Your fight for survival starts right now.
So what'd you think of the film?
This movie sucked. I would describe it as an admirable failure, though. So many movies come out that are just generic, studio, forgettable nonsense, and this movie felt like, it felt unique. It wasn't afraid to be, it's a very bleak movie, too. It wasn't afraid to get kind of dark. There's attempted rape, there's lobotomies. It all takes place in this mental ward, and it's a dark movie.
It's dark at the same time. It's a fun rock and roll video game for 14-year-olds.
Right, and that's the problem, is those two don't meld, but the fact that it was at least attempting to do something like that is like, okay, it's trying something different.
I don't know, but those are things that you kind of decide before you start making the movie.
I think he had something in mind. I think he made the type of movie he wanted to make. It just doesn't work at all.
What are you looking for?
A way out.
I'm going to help you to be free.
The opening of the movie kind of plays out, and I really liked it because it was done all with visuals.
Yeah.
The setup
Yeah.
of how she got into the mental hospital, where her father passes away, and in the will he leaves her and her sister to the house, and then there's sort of like some family drama, which wasn't even necessary, actually, to set up the story. But I like that sequence because everything's done very visually, and there isn't a word of dialogue spoken the whole time.
Yeah.
And it was like kind of had this music. I was like, okay, this is working.
It's efficient visual storytelling.
Yes, and Zack Snyder is good at that.
Yeah.
Very good at that.
No
actually.
one's going to fault him for his visuals.
No, unless they become ridiculous, which they did at this point.
My big problem was all these things take place in fantasy worlds, so there's no real consequences to anything.
Yes, that's the big problem. But the first fantasy world that she goes into is sort of a Japanese wintertime setting, and then 3 like samurai monster warriors appear, and this is when the movie went like this for me. The monster warrior hits her, and she flies 500 feet and slams into the wall at 100 miles an hour. And goes,
Yeah.
oh, I'm okay.
Right.
And then I was like, oh,
Yeah.
okay.
There's not going to be any consequences for
And that's
anything.
the first thing that popped in my head.
Yeah.
Was stakes or tension. And I was like, oh no.
Yeah.
And a feeling of dread set over me.
And that's what, 20 minutes into the movie?
And it was, and then I started the realization came to my mind that she's doing inhuman things, being beat up, being thrown against the wall, and it can work in a movie like The Matrix, where it's like a fantasy world, but there's rules.
Yeah.
And when it's imagined, there's no consequences, and they're virtually indestructible.
Right.
And it just instantly became boring.
Yeah.
There wasn't that hard line of separation between real world and fantasy.
Yeah.
Which there needs to be if you escape to fantasy.
Right.
The flip side of that coin needs to be hardcore real world. You need night and day.
Yeah.
In order to establish that, not gray and light gray.
This is an overused analogy when it comes to talking about action films, but it seems really appropriate with this one in that it felt like a video game. It's like, you have collected the map, now move on to the next level. And it gets very redundant.
There were 3 levels of fantasy. The 3rd level was, of course, the most crazy. The 2nd level was the imagination of the psychiatric hospital as a brothel. And the 1st level was the psychiatric hospital. But the problem was, Zack Snyder's reality is fantasy in itself.
Yeah. It's intentionally anachronistic.
It was-
and
yeah.
it doesn't seem to make any sense on a real world level. I feel like I learned a lot about Zack Snyder as a director from listening to a little bit of the commentary track on the Watchmen Ultimate Cut, whatever it is, like 8-hour version of the movie. I listened to the first 20 minutes of the commentary, and Zack Snyder's justification for every sort of artistic decision is that it was cool.
Oh.
I got really bored with the commentary. Just everything is like specific shots or like a music choice. Everything he mentions, he decided on it because he thought it was cool.
So you're saying he's a dummy?
He has a very unique visual style,
Okay.
and that's about it.
So you were alarmed when you saw he wrote the story for this?
Yeah, definitely.
Okay. And this movie probably worked better on paper, or just the very idea, like all these hot babes in a mental hospital, and then they have all these different fantasies where they're shooting guns, and it's probably like, hey, okay.
Well, it also
in this
feels
film.
really dishonest on Zack Snyder's part, because I've been hearing him say that this movie is meant to be like a female empowerment film. It's true. It's true. He has said that.
Really?
When it very clearly comes across as just a fetishistic orgy of scantily clad women in leather outfits with samurai swords punching things.
What?
Yeah. Well, the idea of the only way that he could think of to make it sort of a female empowerment film is to make every male character completely vile. In a movie like this, apparently you can't have characters with dimension or any aspect other than they want to rape you.
Yes, yes.
It's very one-dimensional and very simplistic and kind of stupid.
So what was he trying to say, that women can only actually accomplish things in fantasy world?
I think that was I think what Zack Snyder was trying to say is that
In the
women.
real world, they just get abused and raped.
Yeah. Well, the world is that black and white.
Right.
So.
Women empowered by violence against oppressive men
Yes.
who are only out to exploit them for their holes. Men just want the holes.
And that's the only way women can access their strength. Is by seducing men.
Okay.
That's another important part of the movie.
Oh, right. It's not through intellect, speech, language, skill sets.
The only way to defeat an oppressive man is to dance seductively.
To dance seductively, and when he's not looking, stab him with a knife.
Yes.
So women don't have brains. They don't have skills. So this film is a very uplifting, powerful film, filled with.
When you put it that way, it's a lot more realistic than I first saw it.
No. This film is completely 100% realistic.
Wow.
In fact, I thought I was watching, Aaron Brockovich. That's less of a female empowerment film. It doesn't quite show that females can stab you or shoot you with a machine gun, or shoot German soldiers that are undead and run on steam power with a machine gun. It shows that a woman can become a lawyer and win a big legal case and everything, but that's not female empowerment.
No.
Female empowerment is using your cooch to distract a man while you stab him with a knife.
Yeah. While at the same time you're pretending that you're in a giant robot suit.
Yes, yes.
That fantasy element is important.
Right, because women have imaginations. I mean, they also have jugs and holes, but they have imaginations. They have multiple holes, actually. And that's all they're good for. Can you cut that?
So final thoughts?
I would want to recommend it as a movie where you can kind of have fun and turn your brain off and watch a bunch of cool action scenes and sexy ladies shooting guns. But despite all that, I was bored and I wanted to leave. And I wanted to leave. So I would not recommend Sucker Punch just on the sheer boredom.
I would also not recommend Sucker Punch. If you were to compare it to like a musical, in a good musical, the musical numbers should help forward the story. The movie shouldn't stop dead in its tracks for the musical numbers. Yeah. And this is a movie where the fantasy sequences are similar to musical numbers. And in that respect, it's a bad musical.
I think whenever each scene starts, you just want it to end.
People are just gonna be constantly taking hits to the face.
Why do you suppose Mr. Plinkett would have a pregnancy workout video?
Oh, do you think Plinkett's into pregger porn? Do you think that turns him on?
I don't want to think about what turns Plinkett on.
That's true.
What do you think turns Denise Austin on?
Well, probably vaginal penetration.
You guys done fixing my VCR yet?
Oh, Mr. Plinkett, we have to order some parts. That's it.
Yeah, whatever. Look, I was rooting around in my attic, right? And I finally found my old VHS recordings in Night Court. You guys can take a break from fixing my VCR. I want to watch this tape.
But it's still broken.
No, Mr. Plinkett, it doesn't work yet. Don't put the tape in
What are
there.
you doing? Get out of my way! Damn it!
No, don't put the tape in.
Shut up! Oh dear! Oh my God! What's going on? My precious Night Court! Ow! My face! God damn it! Oh!